Welcome to Pink Radio with Prestige. This is the place for you, the diva boss entrepreneur who needs quick tips on building your crave-worthy brand. This is your host, Nicole Doss, CEO of the Prestige Society, a membership organization for women entrepreneurs who believe in building powerful networks while slanging in their industries. So I want you to go ahead and grab your favorite cup of coffee and get your favorite tips right here with Prestige. Hey, everyone. This is your girl, Nicole Doss. I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can put up the levels a little bit so that way you guys can hear me loud and clear. So today we're going to talk about, when did you decide to fail? I know this sounds like a crazy topic to talk about, but my wonderful, awesome husband, Tommy Doss, he sent me a video. And this particular YouTube video was done by Bob Proctor, and it was all around decision making. And so I'm like, let me see if I'm going to like this video. Oh my goodness, it changed the way I viewed how I operate in business. And so I want to, of course, share that with my girl bosses so that you too can begin to think about how you are operating in business and why you're not either living the life that you truly should be living, or why you're not creating the business that you should be creating. So I have been working on a project. I've been screaming really loud on this project, talking really loudly, so my voice is a little disheveled. So please excuse me as I drink water really quickly. Thank you guys very much. And let's get on with it. So you know how we're going to lay this out. We're going to talk about a topic. I'm going to give you 3 quick tips, and then of course I would love to get my fabulous tribe's feedback on, when was the moment that you decided to fail, and how are you going to turn and shift it around? So first, let's talk about this concept around decision making. So what Bob Proctor was talking about was that, we believe that we make decisions, like real major decisions in our businesses. And the reality is that we don't. We make a choice, if you will, small decisions. But what ends up happening is that when we decide to create a goal that is outside of the purview that we have experienced. So for instance, if you decided that you wanted to make a certain amount of money a month with your business, if this is something that requires a different type of skill set, if it requires you tapping into a different market, if it's anything different than what you have experienced currently, then what ends up happening is that your goal is something that more or less is taking you to a next level, right? It's taking you to a level that goes higher than what you are currently doing today, how you are currently performing today, okay? So imagine, if you will, you have this goal that is up in the sky and you are kind of on this level playing field, just doing your day to day. What usually happens is that we say we want to accomplish this goal, and then we begin to continue to operate on the level and think on the level that we are currently able to do. And then what happens is that we do not see the result that is supposed to be catapulting us to the next level. So for instance, if I want to make 100K with my business in 6 months or 3 months, and I'm not really sure how to get there, I start creating things that are within my comfort level, that are within the ways that I know how to actually perform or operate. The problem is that it has me on a level that doesn't take me to that 100K. So my results are going to mirror my effort, are going to mirror my knowledge, are going to mirror my thoughts. And although I'm thinking, I so want to make this 100K, at some point when I'm not seeing that end result, then my thoughts become that of self-doubt. It becomes feelings of defeat. And then my actions then begin to mirror this. So then at some point we decide how we're going to move forward. We decide how we are going to operate. We decide what we are going to do and what we're not going to do. And all of these decisions are based on some type of negative seed that has been planted by your gremlin. So if this is your first time you're tuning in, you are not probably familiar with the gremlin. Let me just give you a little insight. Your gremlin is the voice in the back of your head that says that you're not smart enough, wise enough, educated enough, or you have not been in this field long enough to do ... And ... is anything in your life or in your business that you want to accomplish, okay? So when this happens, when your gremlin plants seeds, those seeds are designed to keep you safe and small. So think about this for a moment. We're talking about levels, right? So if we're saying that we want to have a goal that is up here in the sky, and we know that we want this thing, but we're not quite sure how to get it, what happens is we begin to operate on the playing field that is familiar to us. And when that happens, our end results are on the same line. They're within the same line of how we operate. So we never seem to get to that higher level. I hear it all the time in business. I hear people say, I want a higher paying client, and that higher paying client is on a different level than my current clients. Well, at the end of the day, if you are operating on that level that is getting you those clients, then you will never be able to get out into that higher client. And if you aren't sure how to reach that higher client, if you are not even in circles that can even get you in front of those higher clients, then you begin to operate in that same cycle that is getting you the same result, that is getting you that same client. And it becomes a very frustrating experience. And at some point in time, there is a decision that you make. And that may be a decision to stay where you are. That may be a decision for you to operate the same, hoping to still get a higher client. There's a decision for you to not change what you do. And so what ends up happening is that when you make those decisions, they become ultimately decisions to fail. And what do I mean by that? I mean, well, if the measurement of success is by attaining the goal that you have set, and although you feel like you're on this hamster wheel doing work, and through doing this work, you are still achieving the same result, which is not the new goal you've set for yourself. And remember, that new goal is your metric, your measurement of success. Well, if you're not reaching that, then that's considered failure. Now, you know me, I do not believe in failure. I believe that at the end of the day, there are things that happen, and through those things you have to learn. But if you aren't learning, then it is a failure to you, because those things are happening for you to learn so that you can expand and you can go to that next level. But if you aren't taking those moments to learn, and if you aren't expanding to that next level, then you are failing yourself. You are failing your business, and ultimately you're failing the target market that you were put on this earth and that is called to your purpose for you to be able to reach. It's a very disappointing cycle to be in as a business person. So what I thought was really interesting about this video is Bob Proctor brought out one of my favorite books, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And he decided to focus on this paragraph within the book. And it says that those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want and generally get it. The world has a way of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going. So think about it. I'll use myself as an example. So when I first decided to roll out Boss Academy, I put on my wall, first of all, it was a very clear experience for me. But there was a decision that I made at some point to fail. And looking back, so if I were to go back 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, I would tell you that that is like malarkey. Like, no, I have not made a decision to fail because I'm out here winning. But then looking back, I realized, wow, at some point I did make a decision to fail. And that is why I had the experience that I had. And I had to make a choice to change it. And thank goodness that I did. Okay? So let me explain to you what I mean by that. I met with the very talented Nicole Roberts-Jones. I was in her class, the Fierce Factor Lab, and she challenged me to think differently about what I was going to provide as a service to my tribe. And it did not sit well with me, right? I did not like it thank you, Nicole, for pushing me to my limits, pushing me to think beyond where I was. So I did not like it, but I felt that I knew that there was a discomfort for a number of reasons, but I knew that it was good. So I prayed. And what I said that night is I said to God, God, if this is something that's for me, please place in my spirit direction. Please order my steps and allow me to know what to do next. And when I woke up, I literally got on my computer and started creating a presentation on how I was closing the memberships for the Prestige Society and what we were doing by introducing the Boss Academy. And when I began to do it, it was so clear to me that I felt so comfortable socializing this message before I even put it into motion. I became comfortable talking with it with my members. I held a lunch and learn session with my members so that they can learn more about this. And when I did that, I felt great because it was like, I didn't have to sit here and say, God, I need discernment. Should I do this? Should I not? It was like he just placed it in my spirit and I just went full force. And I felt comfortable making decisions that others were worried about my business because I knew he was with me. He was guiding me every step of the way. But then when it came to me building the coaches into getting real people to start signing up, at some point I decided to fail. And it's crazy looking at it now because I really thought I was doing everything that I was supposed to do to win. But when I look back, I realized that I was never operating outside of any of my comfort zones. I was doing everything that felt very comfortable to me. And you got to watch out for those of you out here who are extremely comfortable, who feel like they are anchored in their purpose, who feel that they are just comfortable in being just multi-talented in different ways. You have to be careful because your level of comfort far exceeds the average person. And so you will be duped into believing that you are performing outside of your comfort level. You will be duped into believing that you are out here making decisions that will take you to your next level. And what you really need at that point is an accountability person who is at a level higher than you, because they're going to be the ones that's going to challenge you to go far above what it is that you're doing. And the reason why I say that is because I literally, when I tell you like the things that I did to start this Boss Academy, you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, I revamped my entire website, because I wanted my homepage to tell a story about what the Prestige brand was doing now. I did not want people coming to the Prestige Society thinking they can just join the Prestige Society. I wanted them to understand that they go through this program, and through this program, they graduate and they become a part of this alumni network. I wanted them to understand what the Prestige Society's Boss Academy was going to offer them and why we were going to do it and the support that they get. And yes, this is an investment, but it's still less than what most programs that are built like this are, and we probably offer a lot more. I wanted them to feel comfortable in how I designed it because of my background, because of my master's degree and my formal education and what I've done for Fortune 500 companies. I wanted them to hear the story. So I built that in the website. I created welcome kits so that when they make this investment, they get something tangible that they can say, okay, this is going to help me start my journey. And those welcome kits come with curriculum schedules. They get notebooks, they get a t-shirt, they get buttons, they get pins, they get a notebook, they get a planner, they get all these things that will help them on their journey to win. And then they start their email campaigns that will get them excited as they start and wait for the cohort to actually begin. I built all of these things. I've built a system where we have business coaches, and business coaches have a certain number of students that they are expected to bring into the program. And then once they bring them into the program, and then they get a commission. But they can only bring it in if they talk from a space of integrity, where they can really be a resource for those individuals. So all of these things I built literally from April to now, built that, rolled it out, ready to go. I did not sit on anything. I acted on it. But that's what happens when you are what's called a high performer, because in your mind, you think you did everything you were supposed to do. Right now, I'm literally looking at this wall. I have the go live date when we're going to start the enrollment, which was July 1st, right? That's on my wall. But I also see my SMART goals that I set for sales. And so I literally put things that were specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and anchored in time. And by 8:15, I wanted to have 18 students enrolled at $3,500 per student. Like, okay, if I have 6 coaches and 6 coaches bring me 3 students that are enrolled, this should be attainable. What I've never done, though, is I never saw how much money those 18 students bring. It's about $63,000. But at some point, because I never looked at that amount, I stopped there. Like, I literally stopped. I put the SMART goals there. I created a little hub for my coaches, and I don't talk to them on a regular basis. And I just figured what will happen will happen. There was a decision that I made to fail. There was a decision that I made to not really reach out to people on my own. There was a decision that I made to not encourage my coaches. There was a decision that I made to not even actively post on a regular basis. There was a decision that I made to allow other projects to take priority. There was a decision that I made to fail. There was a decision that I made to fail so much that I told myself that failing was going to be the end result, and I began to plan for the failure. I began to plan for the failure. I began to think of ways that I was just going to say, this is all that I'm going to experience. This was the only person that I was going to enroll. This was the only coach that was going to be successful. There was a plan that I literally put in place for failure. And when I listened to that, I realized I decided to fail. I decided to fail. I decided to not only fail, but I accepted the failure. And then I decided to plan for that. And when I realized that those were all decisions that I made, it wasn't the person, it wasn't the coach, it wasn't people weren't ready for this, it wasn't I wasn't good enough. It was a decision that I actively made subconsciously, not even realizing that I made this decision to fail. I decided that instead of making a decision to fail, I was going to decide to make a decision to win, that I was going to reach out to people myself, that I was going to have a video where I was going to have people understand from the voices of others that this is what we do to win, that I was going to push and push and push till I couldn't push any more. I decided to win. Think about this. Once again, what the quote from Napoleon Hill says, the world has a way. And let me talk to you a little bit about the world and how me as a Christian, how I interpret this, because you have to be anchored spiritually in something, because when you start talking about the world and when you start talking about man, you will get caught up in things that are not anchored in your purpose. So although Napoleon Hill says the world, I'm going to say it a little bit differently, because I know that, when we start thinking about New Age stuff, right, moving from Napoleon Hill, who was written, I think, in 1920s, to moving into what was really discussed in, let's say, the early 2000s, which the world that started being transformed into the universe, right? So the universe has a way. And then we stop saying the word universe if you're a Christian, and you realize that, well, God made the world, God made the universe, so now it's God, right? So God has a way of making room. Come on now. Let's try this again. God has a way of making room for the man whose words and actions show he knows where he's going. Like, let's think about this. So if my words say I will be successful, but my actions led me to failure, then how is God going to make room for my success? Because everything that I did, really, I plateaued. I allowed myself to go to a certain point, and then I allowed room for failure because I plateaued. Think about this. And I love that Bob Proctor talks about how this goes for the person who talks about the house they want to live in, the job they want to have, the business they want to run, the spouse they want to have. They say they want these things, but then their actions do not match the very things that they are saying. So therefore, the results they actually receive match the actions in the realm in which they're operating. So therefore, it never goes to that next level. What are you doing, girl bosses? Are you out here making decisions to win, or are you making a decision to fail and then ultimately having your actions tied to that failure? And now, because this is all you are seeing in result, you are planning for that failure. This is all you are going to settle for because this is all that you're experiencing, but you're not even realizing that you made a decision. You made a decision to only experience this. At some point, you need to realize that when you are stuck in a rut, at some point you have to own your stuff. At some point, you have to take accountability that you made this decision to be where you are right now. You did it. I know we're not ready for that. Everybody who is listening to this is not ready to receive it, and I'm sorry, but I'm here to tell you that I'm giving this to you in love. At some point, you have to own your stuff. You made the decision to fail. So own it right now and say, now I'm changing it because I make the decision to win, because God will make room. But he will only make room when your words and your actions match. Faith without works is dead. So I have an 11 o'clock meeting, so I got to get up off of here. But I got 3 things you need to do. 1, you need faith. You have to believe that when you see that goal, you will make it. Steve Jobs says you cannot connect the dots looking forward, but only looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will connect. Come on. So you have to have faith that although this goal seems like it is intangible, you will get there. So once you have faith, you need to visualize it and see it on a regular basis. And then you have to move into the third point, which is do the work that is required. Once you do those 3 things, then you are making the decision to win. I hope this has blessed you in a way that it has blessed my life. I don't know about you, but for me, I'm out here making the decision to win. All right, guys, this is your girl, Nicole Dawes. Have an awesome day. Bye.